Ambassador Kethvar's mandibles clicked in annoyance as she reviewed the latest intelligence reports from the human exclusion zone. The six-limbed Velthari had been monitoring Earth's quarantine for 3 standard cycles now, ever since the Galactic Council had voted unanimously to bar humanity from participating in the Great Convergence War. "Impossible," she muttered, her compound eyes scanning the data streams. "They're supposed to be contained." The war between the ancient Zephyrian Empire and the upstart Nexus Coalition had raged for over a decade, consuming entire star systems and reshaping the political landscape of known space. Every civilized species had chosen a side, except humanity. The Council had deemed them too primitive, too chaotic, too unpredictable to be trusted with the advanced weapons and strategic intelligence that warfare at this scale demanded. Better, to keep the children locked away while the adults handle serious matters, Council Magistrate Tholan had declared, his crystalline form resonating with authority. The motion had passed 847 to 0, with humanity not even granted a voice in their own exclusion. But the humans, it seemed, had other plans. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, humanity's first true warship built entirely from salvaged alien technology and human ingenuity. Around her, a crew of Earth's finest worked at consoles that hummed with jury-rigged power systems and interfaces that would have made any Galactic Council engineer weep. "Ma'am, we're receiving surrender broadcasts from the Kepler station," reported Lieutenant Morrison, barely containing his excitement. "That's the 4th Nexus outpost this week." Sarah nodded grimly. When the galaxy had locked humanity out of their war, Earth's united governments had made a simple decision. If they couldn't join the existing conflict, they'd create their own. Every supply convoy, every remote outpost, every neutral research facility that belonged to either faction became fair game. "The Nexus Coalition thought they could use our system as a shortcut," she said to her tactical officer. "They learned otherwise." The strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. While the Zephyrians and Nexus forces exhausted themselves in massive, fleet engagements, humanity struck like digital age pirates. They hit fast, hit hard, and disappeared before anyone could mount a proper response. Every captured ship was reverse engineered. Every piece of technology dissected and improved upon with that peculiar human talent for making alien devices do things their creators never intended. Admiral Vexhai of the Nexus Coalition reviewed the reports with growing alarm. In the past month alone, humanity had captured 17 of his ships, disabled a major supply depot, and somehow convinced 3 entire Zephyrian squadrons to defect to what the humans were now calling the Terran Independent Force. "How are they converting enemy units?" he demanded of his intelligence chief. "Unknown, sir. Our analysis suggests they're using some form of advanced psychological manipulation, but our captured personnel refuse to elaborate. They simply state that they've seen reason and wish to fight for something better." What the Nexus didn't understand, what none of the galactic powers understood, was that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their adaptability or their technology. It was their ability to make others believe in something more than ancient grudges and territorial disputes. Commander Zixath had been a Zephyrian battle captain for 47 cycles before the humans captured his dreadnought. He'd expected interrogation, imprisonment, perhaps even execution. Instead, they'd shown him their ship's mess hall, where former Nexus and Zephyrian soldiers ate side by side, sharing stories and laughter. "Your empire has been fighting this war for what, 10 years?" Captain Chen had asked him. "How much of your civilization is left? How many of your children have seen anything but war?" Now 3 months later, Zixath served as tactical advisor aboard the New Dawn, helping train mixed crews of humans, Zephyrians, Nexus defectors, and species from dozens of worlds that had grown tired of being pawns in someone else's conflict. The Galactic Council finally took notice when the Terran Independent Force announced the liberation of the Arcturus mining worlds, a prize both the Empire and Coalition had been fighting over for 2 years. Ambassador Kethvar found herself in the uncomfortable position of requesting an audience with the very species they'd dismissed as irrelevant. "You wanted to keep us out of your war," Admiral Harrison told the assembled council over the quantum comlink. Mission accomplished. We're not in your war. We've started our own. One with better working conditions and actual goals beyond kill everyone who looks different. The holographic display showed the current strategic situation, and even the most arrogant council members couldn't ignore the implications. The Terran Independent Force now controlled 43 star systems, commanded a fleet of over 200 ships, and seemed to be gaining strength by the day. More disturbing still, recruitment wasn't limited to humans. Beings from across known space were abandoning their homeworlds to join what they called the Great Reconciliation. "What do you want?" Magistrate Tholen asked, his crystalline voice tight with barely controlled frustration. "Peace," Admiral Harrison replied, simply. "Not the kind where everyone stops fighting until they can build bigger guns, but actual peace. The kind where different species work together instead of trying to dominate each other." "Impossible," Kethvar interjected. "The Zephyrians and Nexus have grievances going back millennia." "Had," corrected Commander Zixath, stepping into the transmission range. Past tense. "Turns out most of those grievances seem pretty stupid when you're working together to build something better than constant warfare." The council session descended into chaos as representatives recognized the former Zephyrian commander. Shouts of traitor and terrorist filled the chamber until Admiral Harrison's voice cut through the noise. "You locked us out because you thought we were too primitive to understand your sophisticated war," he said, his words carrying across the galaxy to billions of beings watching the historic transmission. "Maybe we are primitive. Maybe that's why we still believe different. People can work together instead of just killing each other forever." 6 months later, Ambassador Kethvar stood in the observation deck of the newly christened Unity Station, watching as the last of the Zephyrian and Nexus fleets formally surrendered to the Terran Independent Force. The humans had won their war, not through superior firepower, but by making everyone else realize they didn't want to fight anymore. The galaxy's greatest military conflict had ended not with conquest, but with conversion. And the species that had been locked out of the war had somehow unlocked something far more powerful. The possibility that different worlds could choose cooperation over conflict. As she watched human, Zephyrian, and Nexus engineers working side by side to retrofit the old warships into exploration vessels, Kethvar allowed herself a rare smile. Perhaps being primitive wasn't such a bad thing. After all,